Damian Voss didn't believe in warnings. Not for enemies, not for business partners, and certainly not for the woman who kept his empire from collapsing into chaos, Marisol Reyes, his assistant of 3 years. In his world, warnings gave people time to prepare a mask. He preferred the truth of an unguarded moment, the flicker of expression before someone remembered to control it. That was how he'd learned who could be trusted and who couldn't, how he'd survived a decade in a business where trust was currency and betrayal was cheap. He'd built his entire reputation on unannounced visits. Walk into a warehouse without notice and watch which men flinched. Walk into a restaurant that owed him money and watch the owner's hands shake as he counted out the envelope. People revealed themselves in the moments they hadn't rehearsed. Tonight, 3 days before his wedding to Elena Castillo, daughter of a rival family whose alliance would finally end 2 decades of tension between their empires, he decided to turn that same cold instinct toward the one person he'd never bothered to test. Marisol had asked for the week off. It wasn't like her. In 3 years, she'd never once requested more than a single day, and even then she'd apologize for it, as if taking time for herself were some kind of failure. She'd given no explanation this time, just a quiet, clipped request typed into an email at 11 at night, sent from an account she rarely used outside office hours. Damian, suspicious by nature and unable to let anything about his operation go unexamined, told his driver to change course. Not to the penthouse where his fiancée waited with wedding planners, florists, and a guest list of 400 people who mattered to men like him. To Marisol's apartment instead. The building was nothing like the glass towers he was used to, a narrow brick structure wedged between a laundromat and a shuttered bakery, the kind of place his own security detail would have called unremarkable, forgettable, beneath notice. He told his men to wait in the car. He climbed the narrow, dimly lit stairs alone, his black coat catching on a loose railing nail, his expensive shoes echoing too loudly against old linoleum. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again, harder, the sound sharp enough to make a dog bark somewhere down the hall. The door across from Marisol's cracked open instead. An elderly woman peered out, curlers in her hair, eyes narrowing with suspicion at the sight of a man in a tailored coat standing in her hallway at that hour. "You looking for Marisol?" she asked, her voice raspy with age and cigarettes. "I am," Damian said, his tone flat, giving nothing away. The woman studied him a moment longer, deciding whether he was trouble, then seemed to settle on something closer to concern. "She's inside. Poor thing's been up all night again. Every night, actually, far as I can tell." Damian's brow drew down, the first genuine reaction he'd allowed himself all evening. "Up all night doing what?" The woman's face softened with something like pity, the kind reserved for people you've watched suffer quietly for too long without being able to help. "Taking care of her mother. Cancer's back, came back worse this time, from what I hear through the walls. Girl works that fancy job of hers all day, comes home, and does everything herself. Feeds her, bathes her, sits up with her when the pain gets bad and the medicine doesn't stretch far enough. I don't think that child has slept a full night in months." Something shifted in Damian's chest, unfamiliar and unwelcome. He built walls specifically so nothing could do that. He said nothing to the woman, only nodded once, and turned back to Marisol's door. He knocked a third time, softer now, almost hesitant in a way that would have shocked anyone who worked beneath him. The door opened. Marisol stood there in an old, faded t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a messy knot, strands escaping around a face stripped of the composed professionalism he saw every day in the office. Her eyes were hollow, rimmed with the particular exhaustion of someone running on willpower alone. For a moment she simply stared at him, as if her mind refused to process the sight of her boss standing in this hallway, in this building, at this hour. "Mr. Voss?" Her voice cracked, disbelief tangled with something closer to dread. "What are you? Is everything okay at the office? Did something happen?" "Nothing happened at the office," he said. She glanced past him, as if expecting bodyguards, an entourage, some explanation that made sense of this. Finding none, her hand tightened on the door frame. "Then why are you here, sir?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, his eyes moved past her shoulder, into the apartment, taking in details the way he took in everything, quickly, thoroughly, cataloging. A hospital bed crowded into what should have been a living room, its metal frame too large for the small space. Medical equipment lined against the wall, an oxygen tank, a rolling tray of pill bottles arranged with careful precision. A stack of unpaid bills sat on a side table, some marked with red lettering he recognized even from a distance. And beyond a half-open door, a frail hand reached weakly across a thin blanket, illuminated by the dim glow of a single lamp, the only real source of light in a home clearly trying to save on electricity. "Why didn't you tell me?" Damian said quietly. It wasn't really a question. It came out low, almost accusatory, though the accusation was aimed more at himself than at her. Marisol's eyes filled instantly, tears rising fast and hot, but she blinked hard, jaw tightening, refusing to let them fall in front of him. 3 years of professionalism didn't crumble that easily, even now, even exhausted past the point of pretending. "You hired me to organize your schedule, sir. Not to burden you with mine. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." Her voice wavered despite her best effort to keep it steady. "You have a wedding in 3 days. A merger disguised as a marriage, an alliance that took your father's whole life to almost build and yours to finish. You don't need to know that my mother's cancer came back, or that I've been sleeping 4 hours a night for 2 months, or that I've missed 3 loan payments trying to keep her comfortable. That's not your problem. It was never supposed to be your problem." Damian looked at her for a long moment, something unreadable moving behind his dark eyes. He thought of every email she'd sent on time, every crisis she'd defused before he even knew it existed, every late night she'd stayed without complaint while carrying something this heavy in silence. He thought of how he never once asked her, in 3 years, whether she was okay.